I wanted to say this at the outset, ladies and gentlemen. Get a hold of your U.S. senators and your representative in the House and tell them to resist any Dumocrat pushes to nationalize policing policy. Because Iowa is not Memphis. Montana is not Memphis. Idaho is not Memphis. Most of Tennessee is safe, as I'm going to go over here very shortly, aside from 2 counties. So Iowa doesn't have, put it this way, in Iowa, how do I put this? You remember in Seattle they set up that CHOP thing? Well, if that happened in rural Iowa, CHOP would last a half hour. Because if the sheriff didn't take care of it, the locals would, if you get what I mean. And we don't have people, hundreds of people walking around in drug-induced days, assaulting people because, well, I think if you do that in Iowa, especially rural Iowa, not a bright idea. So we don't need to nationalize policing policy because Iowa's not Memphis. Iowa's not Chicago. Montana's not Chicago. Idaho's not Chicago. Memphis is a toilet. It's a pile of crap. It's been a cesspool for a long time, and it's a dump. So and I'm even going to get a hold of my state senator and state representative. Maybe we can, a sense of the Iowa legislature resolution telling Joe Biden, no, the highest ranking politician that should be telling Iowa police how to conduct themselves or having anything to do with it would be the governor of Iowa, and that's Kim Reynolds. Outside that, nah, if you don't live in Iowa, shut the hell up. We don't care what you think. Go back to your own homicide-laden, black-on-black crime cesspool and shut up. What else am I... Oh, yeah, Sam Seder will be sitting on his fat ass. I wouldn't be surprised if he locked himself up in his small apartment all weekend. Maybe his ex-wife might have said, you want the kids to come over? And he probably didn't even answer the phone. Because I'm going to Google some facts. I'm Sam Seder, and I'm going to be on the internet all weekend, 48 hours straight, and the police are bad. We've all seen the video. I think almost everybody's going to come to the same conclusion. There were at least, I'm not sure all 5 of these cops are going to be guilty of murder. But they had I'll just say this real quick. There was 5 guys. They're all fairly big dudes. They had a couple opportunities to get this guy on his face, Tyre Nichols, handcuff him, stuff him in the car, and take him downtown for whatever they were going to charge him with. They were playing games with him. I've watched Cops with my dad enough. I've seen this when you've got somebody, a perp or a suspect that you're really pissed off at. What they do is they face plant him, and it's usually two or 3 or 4 guys. Sometimes it takes more. Sometimes these people are squirrely. They face plant him. They get his hands behind his back, and they cuff him. And if they're trying to kick out the back windows of the police cruiser, then you just hog tie him, and then you get him downtown. So it seemed like to me like they were playing games with this guy. I'm not sure all 5 of them are going to get charges, but the guy that was kicking him in the head while he was down will certainly be getting some serious charges, as was, I couldn't tell from the video if it's the same guy, just rearing back and giving him closed bare-knuckle whacks in the face. Gave him a couple of those, so going to be a couple of those guys. I'm not sure they're ever going to get out of prison, and they probably shouldn't. That said, when whack job Muslims flew planes into buildings, we were told not to judge all Muslims, but don't paint these Muslims with a broad brush. That's not right. Just because every Muslim country is a train wreck and they want to come here and ruin it doesn't mean, oh, wait, I don't want to say that. But anyways, most cops are totally reasonable people. Black Lives Matter has made it their mission, and they're going to use this to try to bring this to fruition. They want to get rid of the police, literally. And in one of the last videos I did not too long ago, Burlington, Vermont, seriously reduced their police force, and it's not doing well. So they want to get rid of the police, and like I'll say it again before I get into my spiel here, my written spiel that I have, I'm going to read off word for word, letter for letter. The real insurrection in America is a Dumocrat insurrection. 1, defund the police, and if you can't defund the police, seriously reduce their ranks and or intimidate them into no proactive policing in their high crime areas. So when little old ladies get beat up, people get carjacked, people get their cars stolen, people get beaten half to death on the sidewalk, the cops aren't there to apprehend the criminal. And if they don't show up for 10, 15 minutes, especially with the no snitch culture in some cities, it's highly unlikely that this guy or gal will ever get caught for doing what they did. 2, When a Kyle Rittenhouse goes out and defends his community from fatherless Black Lives Matter terrorists, they want to throw him in jail for murder. So the next time that they do this, there's no one there to stop them. 3, let lunatics out of prison. Let lunatics out of jail early. Don't let murder suspects out on bail. I had a little bit of that in my last video, one of my last ones on Burlington, Vermont. They have a progressive George Soros-backed pile of dung there who wants to, they're going to let violent people loose. Baltimore saw it. They had about almost 70 extra homicides because people didn't serve their entire prison term. So, the Democrats get all that together, let lunatics loose, get rid of the police or defund the police or reduce their ranks to the point and intimidate them while letting the lunatics loose and throwing you into prison if you defend yourself. That way, the next time they start a riot, they can intimidate the populace into getting what they want. And Memphis has had a culture of this for a long time. Memphis is not as bad as St. Louis, doesn't have the history that St. Louis has, for example, or Chicago. But we know who the problem children are. And it's not rural white people in Iowa and Montana and Idaho and the Dakotas. I know that's racist to say that. Well, I'm sorry, it's the truth. Okay, here we go. According to the FBI, from 2016 to 2021, Tennessee had a homicide rate of 8.354 per 100,000. That is buku high. Tennessee homicide rate 2020 and 2021, 9.613 per 100,000. That is a massive spike. Gee, I wonder why that happened. Right in the summer of 2020. The Ferguson effect. By the way, I need to mention this, and the George Floyd events in Minneapolis. I did want to mention this, Sam Seder, if you're listening. If George Floyd had tried with my wife what he tried with that pregnant woman, he wouldn't have gotten to Minneapolis. If you know what I mean. You want to defend a fentanyl addict, a drug addict and career criminal. Doesn't mean he deserved what he got from Derek Chauvin. But why don't you pretend all these people who get beat up by police are Republicans? And then maybe you'll have sing a different tune. But I just think it's kind of disgusting. I think this Tyre Nichols, if you want to paint a mural, he's probably a better guy to paint a mural for rather than a George Floyd who was a scumbag. Anyways, I digress. The Ferguson effect and the George Floyd events in Minneapolis. Oh, by the way, Stan, I said my wife. If he had tried that with my wife. Not my ex-wife, my wife. Just in case you were wondering. The Ferguson effect and the George Floyd events in Minneapolis were used by Black Lives Matter terrorists to create a culture of hysteria that they intended to exploit. Destabilize communities, harass them, terrorize them, and we can get our way via an end to local policing and a national police force from 2016 to 2021 in Tennessee. Of the 3,113 homicide offenders where the race of the assailant was known, 69.12% or 2,290 of the offenders were black. Of the 3,395 victims where the race was known, 64.8% of the victims were black. Let's see Divorcee Sam Seder get off his fat ass and lay wreaths at the graves of those people instead of being a social media vegetable. According to the 2020 census, Tennessee is only 17% black. Yikes! According to the FBI, Memphis from 2016 to 2021 had 1,363 homicides and a homicide rate of 35.247 per 100,000. Will Sam Seder say the names of all the young black men murdered in Memphis? Say their names, Democrats. Say their names. Memphis homicide rate 2020 to 2021, 47.209 per 100,000. According to the FBI, Nashville had 577 homicides 2016 to 2021 and a homicide rate of 13.812 per 100,000. This entire transcript will be at Rumble, by the way. Nashville homicide rate 2020 to 2021, 14.931 per 100,000. From 2016 to 2021, Memphis and Nashville, you can see that spike in 2020 and 2021. From 2016 to 21, Memphis and Nashville had 19.69% of Tennessee's population, but 56.85% of its homicides. In 2020 and 2021, Nashville and Memphis had 19.3% of Tennessee's population, but a staggering 60.44% of all its homicides. Homicide rate in Tennessee outside of Memphis and Nashville from 2016 to 2021 was 4.488 per 100,000, well below the U.S. average, but still kind of high. I mean, nobody's going to say, oh, yay. You know, that's still kind of high, but you can see where most of it's happening. According to Tennessee state data, Memphis had 1,339 homicides. I'm just using other sources so you can get a feel of how close they are. Tennessee state data has 1,339 homicides for Memphis, 2016 to 2021, and the local Memphis PD data is either useless or in need of an update. According to the Tennessee state data, Nashville had 579 homicides 2016 to 2021, and the Nashville local police department data said 583 homicides 2016 to 2021. The U.S. murder rate from 2016 to 2021 was 5.729. So you can see if you Democrats are going to whine about Tennessee's a red state, red. Memphis and Nashville, guess who they vote for? Here's some previous data I had from the volunteer state. Let's see. The FBI from 2018 to 2020 said Tennessee had a homicide rate of 8.1. So you can see how 2021 was a real bad year. Real bad. 8.1 per 100,000. And the Tennessee state data and the FBI data for number of homicides is really close. So just to correlate that, you've seen from my data that Memphis is very pro-Dumocrat and they have one of the highest homicide rates for big cities, but Memphis is not all of Shelby County. Shelby and Davidson counties, the two most reliable pro-Democrat counties, very, very pro-Democrat in a very pro-Republican state. Shelby and Davidson counties from 2018 to 2020 had a homicide rate of 19.882 per 100,000, and Tennessee's homicide rate 2018 to 2020 outside of Shelby and Davidson counties was only 4.318. If COVID-19 is causing crime to be out of control, it forgot to cause those problems in uber-white pro-Trump counties in Tennessee. Whoops. That said, I could not find a reliable list of Memphis homicide victims for various years where I could read off the names and ages. So I could read off the names of all the children that were beaten to death by live-in boyfriends or murdered in drive-by shootings. So let us look at another reliable merchant of death, Chicago, and the Sun-Times, which chronicles these murders. Will the divorcee Sam Seder sit on his fat duff reading these names? Here are all the black children that were murdered in Chicago 2022. There were 85 black people 19 years of age or younger murdered in Chi-Town in 2022. We'll restrict our list to folks 17 and under. All 53 of them say their names. Fat Democrats who live in small apartments and have empty, useless lives say their names. How many interstates did these pukes shut down for these black children whose lives were snuffed out? Did Black Lives Matter sycophants burn down any car dealerships, any furniture stores? Did they burn down any hardware stores or set fire to any courthouses over these murders? I am amused at the marching and, well, we can come together because the police have done something wrong. Police are wrong. Why can't you people get together and march in great numbers and tell these primarily young black men to get off their asses and take care of the kids they sired? Or why can't you guys march en masse through the hood and tell these young black women to keep their legs closed until they're married? And that's some advice Walter E. Williams gave them decades ago, so don't get pissed off at me about it. So how come you can march en masse over the police getting out of control and beating a guy to death, but you can't tell these black women to keep their legs closed until they're married? Why not? But anyways, I digress. Here are the Chicago black children murdered in Chicago in 2022. Sam Seder, pour yourself a stiff glass of Metamucil, old man, and say these names. I want you to autistically repeat these names on your show tomorrow while you're sitting on your fat ass. Kimberly Campbell, age 16. Kevin Davis, age 15. They're all black. Zamarian, I'm going to butcher some of these names. I apologize. Zamarian Bledsoe, age 15. Robert Davidson, age 16. These are all kids. Jakari Clark, age 17. Michael Hintz, age 13. Quentin Branch, age 13. You look at a lot of these, they're shot really early in the morning. Really early in the morning. I'm not going to read off all the details as I'd be here forever. Quentin Branch, 13. Kamari Edwards, age 17. Anthony Sims, 17. Akeem Briscoe, 7. 7. You can read about these deaths too if you really want to. But you can't score political points with them, so you probably won't. Rashawn Hendricks, age 16. Eddie Boyd, age 17, shot at 12:04 a.m. I look at a lot of these, it's really early in the morning. I wonder how many of these are drive-bys. Like I said, you could look at the data. You could go read more about them. I'm sure some of them were. Lavelle Winslow, age 13. Curtis Gatewood, age 17. Devontae Stedman, 16. Josiah Brown, 3. It just says he died around 1:30 p.m. I wonder what happened. Arion Washington, 17. Kanye Perkins, 17. Devin McGregor, 5 years old. He got shot August 28th, 2022 at 5:22 p.m. A little 5-year-old boy got shot in Chicago. Say his name, dumbass. Andre Smith Jr., age 16. He got shot. Deion Young, 13. Shania Daniels, age 15. Darren McNair, age 15. Tyshawn Crawford, age 16. Prince Kashaw, age 14. He got shot at 12:15 a.m. near the 1000 block of East Marquette Road in Woodlawn. Well, maybe he shouldn't have been out at that time. I understand, but I don't know what he was into. I'd be here for hours reading about all. Stan, you should take all the time on your little show where you sit on your fat ass and read all these details, all these children murdered in Chicago. 53. I'm on Shakira. What was it? Yeah, it was 53. 53 kids. Say their names. I'm trying to get down to the one I was on. Sakara Hurd, age 17. Tierra Franklin, age 17. Isaiah McCullough IV, age 14. Kajari Harshaw, age 17. Jeremiah McDaniel, age 17. Cecilia Thomas, age 5. She was shot around 6 p.m. near the 7700 block of South Shore Drive in South Shore. Little 5-year-old. Pretty sure she wasn't a gang member. Kashana Love, age 4. Another probably drive-by victim. Isaiah Bolding Jr., age 15. Cortez Barber, 17. Shondell Holiday, age 16. Jalen Mims, age 17. Antonique Alexander, 16. Corey Mason, 14. Jaquan Sanders, 16. Malik Smith, 14. Asha Williams, 17. Lee Carter Jr., 17. Naziria Moore, age 12. Badarian Knight, age 16. Zachary McLean, 16. Jamarian Wells, 15. Sincere Cole, 15. Michael Brown, 15. Not the Michael Brown from Ferguson. This is a different one. Uriel Rogers Knox, 16. The Michael Brown in Ferguson was the one that attacked the cop twice. Hands up, don't shoot was a lie. Uriel Rogers Knox, age 16. Caleb Westbrook, 15. Javion Ivey, 14. James Sweezer, 14. And Marcel Wilson, age 12. Are we going to say their names? And I'm going to scroll up to that 3-year-old once I find Josiah Brown, age 3. Read more about his death. Aunt accused of throwing 3-year-old boy into water off Navy Pier. Not once did she scream for help, call for help, ask for help. Victoria Marino, age 34. I just had to read this one because this kid didn't deserve it. This kid wasn't a gangbanger. Victoria Marino, 34, is charged with attempted first-degree murder and aggravated battery to a child, according to police. She appeared in court Wednesday. Say their names. Have a nice day, and don't thank me now, and don't forget to write your representatives. Do not let the Democrats create a national police platform because they're going to try to turn every city into Memphis, and they're going to try to get rid of your police and federalize it and just all kinds of strings attached, and your safe little community will then be, if there's no police, well, they could try to turn your community into another Black Lives Matter enclave. Nobody wants to deal with unemployed, underemployed morons from CHOP, setting up roadblocks. I did want to mention this too, because Clay and Buck mentioned it. I remember a couple guys on Fox News mentioned it on Friday. Why did they release this footage on a Friday night? Why didn't they wait till Monday morning at 8 a.m.? It was done on purpose, of course, because they wanted to create hysteria. They wanted to use this to hopefully foment more riots. They're making their big push to nationalize police. That's why they release it on a Friday night, because what they're hoping, see, the Democrat base is underemployed, unemployed losers who live in small apartments and will never own any property and never make anything of themselves. That's most of the base right there. Those people will be out every night, because they don't have anything to do. It's not like they have a job to go to, so they can sit around and protest all the time until 3 or 4 in the morning and wreck stuff and spray paint and throw Molotov cocktails and do the crap that they, was going out over there in Portland. Molotov cocktails thrown at the police. They tried to burn a courthouse down. Now, if they'd done it on a Monday morning at 8 a.m., there's some people that might get swept up into this that normally wouldn't if it was released on a Monday morning at 8, because they'd be going to their job. But they released it on a Friday because they were hoping that some of the people who normally wouldn't, because they'd be too busy at their job, they were hoping enough of those people got involved in it, and they're trying to facilitate a mob mentality. That's why they released it on Friday instead of a Monday morning or a Wednesday morning. And that is it. That's Mr. Chairman, I yield back.